Hi, welcome to Absolutely Fabulous. My name is Gillian, also known as Station Mum 101. I love everything about agriculture, especially the people and especially communicating about what makes Australian ag so special.
And I'm Katja Williams, a beef, cattle and cropping farmer, and I love all things ag, and I'm also known as the ultimate farm wife. Together, we are absolutely fabulous, and we are talking all things agriculture beyond the headlines.
And we can't wait to give our opinion to you, and we hope you enjoy it.
So let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to another episode of Absolutely Fabulous. It's episode 74, and tonight we are going to be talking about Is the Farmer Money Pit? Elders will stop handling Western Australia local wool, and Gaslighting Women by Jimmy Carr, a reel that Gillian has actually put into today's working track, as well as a fox attack and the Victorian ag bounty. So Gillian, before we jump into all of that, what's been happening on station?
Pretty quiet at the moment. Eldest boy's enjoying his time in Queensland on a cattle station. Went on his first pig hunt the other day. Sent me a photo of it at 3 o'clock in the morning. Because we don't have feral pigs down here. So we don't have them in the top end of South Australia because it's too dry. Sometimes when the river's coming down, so like when the Cooper's flooding, they'll follow the creek down and end up sort of around that inner Minka type area. And then they sort of get enmeshed in there, and that because then they find themselves like the troughs and the tanks and stuff and can make a little environment for themselves. But yeah, we don't have feral pigs in this area of South Australia, and we don't have them further south either. He's just spent too much time watching Instagram and TikTok, has been beside himself, wanting to go and kill feral pigs. So he's finally gone on his first feral pig hunt, and he's very pleased with himself. So yeah, my son's a bogan. He's just like living the dream. So he's having fun. And the flies are still giving me curry here. So I can't even go and hang the washing out without my fly veil on because they get up your nose and in your ears. It's disgusting. I'm sick of it. But I won't complain too much because it means we've got green feed. So what have you been up to?
We're finishing carving at the moment. Yeah, very much looking forward to that finishing up because it's not the greatest conditions down here to be carving down in. But hopefully it does mean that the mama cows will get some relief soon. Feeding is still continuing. We're just hoping and praying for rain. But I also did attend the AgriFutures Rural Women Awards in Sydney at Parliament House, which was very exciting. So shout out to everybody that I went with, including Emma, who was one of the finalists, and Kristen, who is a beef producer who was once a city girl who decided to do something different and create a food system of food that they enjoy to do. So I'm going to tag them in the show notes as well. But we had a wonderful night. We've got some collaborations potentially coming up in the future once we lock in some funding and some things like that. So very exciting for that. Great night. Met lots of people.
Now, question for you, Katja. When you went to Parliament House, did you take your driver's license?
Yeah, but I don't think I had to show it. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because that's bullshit. Because I went to an event at Parliament House in Queensland one night, and it was after hours. Like, it was closed down. It was only just the party that I was attending there. It was in like the foyer. It wasn't even like anywhere cool or anything. And because I was like, I don't have to pay for anything. I'm going with Cattle Council in a shared taxi, etc., etc. Took no purse. Like, why would you take your purse? I'm going to go there, clap politely, and then get in my taxi and go back to my motel room, get to their security, and I'm just like, what do you mean I'm not allowed in? He's like, yeah, you have to show your ID to get in here. I'm like, but Cattle Council, that's our name on the event over there. I'm one of them. Like, why am I not allowed in? And he's like, you're not allowed in without ID. I'm like, well, that's bullshit. But I did eventually get in. So now it's frightened me. I never go leave. Even if I'm just going out to dinner, I never go anywhere without my driver's license now. Even if I'm just going down to the motel restaurant or up, it'll take my driver's license and at least one debit card or something with me, because that's just terrified of being like locked out somewhere.
That's pretty funny because I still think of I only need ID if I'm going to a pub or a club. Not that I do that very often, but like I quite obviously look over 18.
I know, it's crazy. It's just a habit that I have to get back into because, as you know, women's clothes don't have a lot of pockets, especially cocktail event like outfits or anything like that. No pockets. And I hate having to carry a purse everywhere because I've already got my phone. Because in South Australia, you can get a digital license, so you can put your license on your phone, but some places won't accept that. So you have to have your physical license, and it's just, we need more pockets. And I don't carrying a bag or anything like that, especially at night time. It gives me the irrits. So, yeah, need more pockets.
So we were down there with the alumni event to start with, which was awesome. I actually was surprised how many women I knew in the room, which was incredible. And then I also wanted to give a shout out to Christy Ivans, who's the founder of Boab's Language Academy, as the winner. Amazing work that she's doing with migrants. You basically turning migrants into teachers of their own language by teaching them English.
I just saw an ABC News article about that just before we jumped on. And she was saying it flips it around and puts the migrant in the teacher position, and the English-speaking person's now learning their language, but at the same time they're learning English as well. And then it's a really incredible way to look at it, because communication is essential, and especially it is much better to learn it off a native speaker in a one-to-one sort of environment, because Australians especially, we have a lot of slang and idioms and those sorts of things that even if you've learnt English overseas in a school and your English is very correct, you still can't understand a lot of what Australians say. I think it would go a long way towards helping integrate new arrivals into communities easier and better, because those misunderstandings are less, and also give native Australians, English speakers, whatever you want to call them, a better perspective of how challenging it is, and to be a bit more empathetic and to be a bit more understanding when it comes to the challenges that some people experience when they're moving to a new place where you don't speak the language. That's mad.
Yeah.
Mad. I don't think I could do it. I'd be like one of those really annoying British and American tourists that when people don't understand them overseas, they just shout louder.
Brilliant communication skills.
I said, where's my coffee? But no, that's just so rude. But I see people do it all the time.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So congratulations to Sarah Golding from the Vet Mind Mentor, as well as Emma Spartel as finalists. Emma is doing incredible things in AI and really wanting to help our rural women particularly take away some of the heavy load when it comes to the mental capacity and the jobs that we can be automating in our own lives and in our businesses. So incredible work.
I just need to clarify one thing, Katja, because this is a rural podcast. When you say AI, you don't mean artificial insemination.
Correct. I mean artificial intelligence in this specific reference.
Just sort of clear that one up, because if you're trying to automate your artificial insemination, then you might end up with unexpected consequences.
True. I'm going to put all of Emma's stuff in the show notes below. Absolutely worth checking out. She has this incredible work system where she takes in your workflow and how your business operates and is able to help automate some of that with her little AI workers. So worth checking out.
Excellent. Will they make phone calls for me? Because I hate talking on the phone.
I'm not sure about that.
Which is fascinating because I do talk a lot. But if I have to ring like people up for business purposes, it's like, can't help it. Just don't like it.
Yeah. The only other thing I thought I would mention is because the days are getting shorter and we're starting to do a lot more night driving, my nighttime glasses are back. So in summer, I don't wear glasses when I drive. I don't need to. But in winter, the headlights really hurt my eyes, and I find that they really start to cloud my vision. So I went and saw Whiteley Optometry in Dubbo 12 months ago, and she's popped a filter in my glasses that I wear at night, and it brings the headlights back in so they're not spread across my vision. It's incredible. So if you are having this issue in your nighttime driving, particularly now that we're heading into winter and shorter days, I would highly recommend going to your optometrist. If you're in the Dubbo area, go to Whitley's. I will add it into the show notes below, but absolutely incredible.
Yeah. A good optometrist is a really good thing to have, especially when they understand your lifestyle. Because when I first got my glasses, the optometrist She said, well, you want glasses? I said, yeah. I said, I couldn't even consider contact lenses, like poking myself in the eye. She goes, I'm not even going to let you have contact lenses. The amount of dust you're exposed to. Now, you're crazy. Yeah. And to be able to get that sort of frank advice, I think is worth a lot from a professional, because she wasn't just trying to sell me something that I had to renew every day and buy all the different lens filter thingy things and the accessories. Even though I do love accessories, but yeah, she's like, nah, you're not having contact lenses because it'd be really bad for you. So it is really good to get that advice.
Yeah, absolutely. They're worth their weight in gold if you can find someone who's actually wants to do more than just a brief inspection. So let's jump into tonight's topics. So we did have an AgFab send this through. The farm is a money pit. When I first heard you say this, I thought this was a touch negative, but you're right. I didn't notice until you said it. So I'm glad it's been brought to my attention on the podcast, and that I attended one of Katja's boundary setting workshops to build my confidence to stop it from happening.
Everything you've got, the farm will take everything, and it still will never be enough. There's no amount of money that you could spend it would ever be enough. It doesn't matter where you live. Doesn't matter if you've got the best, most developed farm in the world, there will always be something else to sink money into. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it is really important to set those boundaries. And I'm really proud of you, Katja, for doing those boundary setting workshops. Yeah. And I think that's what the sort of introduction and training, I guess, that a lot of first-time farmers, farm wives, daughters and sons returning to the farm miss out on, especially in my generation, because it just wasn't the done thing. If the farm asked for it, you just gave it, and you had to be happy about it. It's like, I'm happy to be a slave to this block of land for the rest of my days, because that's what you were raised to do. But it's not wrong or selfish to say, no, this thing is mine. You cannot have this thing. I'm not going to sell my car and drive around in a second-hand piece of shit so you can have an extra 10 grand to spend on. No, it's mine. I'm not going to forego having the necessities of life, like a hot water system or a roof that doesn't leak. And I think that you feel bad, especially like when it's drought or fire or flood or anything like that. It's like, oh, look at those poor skinny old sheep or cows out in the paddock. Oh, I feel really bad asking for, or even wanting to ask for, windows that close, or, you know, to keep something for yourself. It's like, you cannot. It will take everything you've got and still ask for more, whether that's emotionally, financially. Don't let it take everything. Because isn't that book, Jack Owen, didn't he say you are not your farm?
You are not your farm. He sure did.
He wrote a whole book about it. Maybe we should go and get Jack's book and give it a read, and then go to one of Katja's workshops, and you'll be sorted. Job's right. You'll never get your parents or your in-laws there, though, because they know they don't want to listen to that message, because it just doesn't compute with people of a certain generation.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are interested in one of those boundary setting workshops, I do them in person, but I am also working on making them online accessible. So if you want to do it in person, jump into my DMs. You can even just put boundary setting workshop or boundary setting as a little icebreaker. We'll start the chats on that, but definitely still working on getting it up on Skilled so that you can do it anywhere remotely and self-paced. But while I'm still working on that, you can still go and join me over at Skilled and start participating in the posts and building the community over there.
Oh, do you know what would be awesome, Katja, for the ag fabs? If they're listening to this and they're like going, oh, that sounds like a really good idea for a workshop. If you are in your own local community and you have the opportunity to apply for funding to run one of these workshops through like the CWA or the Drought Hub or your local land service or your NRM group, think about not just practical sort of hands-on type skills of tree planting. You know how I feel about tree planting. Think about ways that you can upskill yourself and your community internally to give yourself the robust structure that you need within inside yourself to be able to withstand these sort of circumstances and things, environments in which you may find yourself. So think about doing that. Katja is available. I will be spectacularly unhelpful in any of these sorts of circumstances because I am not great at that stuff. So
Gillian will be attending one of my workshops.
Get the expert deliverer. If you want to know about social media or that sort of stuff, that's me. marketing PR, that's me, but Katja is the expert on the actual serious stuff.
And with that, let's head into Elders. So Elders will stop handling Western Australia's wool locally from next year, shifting operations to Melbourne as the state's sheep flock shrinks by a third. Gillian, I'm not surprised by this article at all. I'm not surprised that they are leaving the market in Western Australia because, lo and behold, this goes back to the decision that the government made, 12 months ago? Or has it been longer?
Oh, yeah, it's been longer. So 12 months ago, I think the legislation was passed to ban live sheep export, but the lack of confidence in the industry existed well before then because the Labor ran twice on the platform of banning live sheep exports. It's interesting to note, of all the things that they promised to do, and they've been in power now for 8 years, that is the only thing they've managed to actually do. They've not managed to increase the standard of living in Australia. They have not raised the rate of job seeker or the pension to any meaningful level. It hasn't even kept pace with inflation. Some people would say they have led us into disaster after disaster. Any sort of metrics that they were like hoping to measure themselves against, so like carbon emissions, uptake of, electric cars, renewable energy projects, etc., nothing. The only thing they've managed to do is shut something down. So that's a big tick, guys. You're kicking goals there, champions. But interestingly, on the Elders shutting down the wool store in Western Australia, I did hear a rumour that they may be going to postpone that decision due to the high cost of transport at the moment, thanks to the diesel price. So they may be keeping it open for another 12 months. But it's a combination of factors. It's the dwindling supply and also the high price of real estate where that wool store is actually located. So it's more of a sense of Elders consolidating. So they're going to exit that facility and then sell it off and get the cash back in their own bank account. And there's not the necessity to have the large wool store there anymore because there's not the volume coming of merino wool coming out of Western Australia due to the fact that people are leaving the industry and getting out of wool sheep because it's too hard, because there's no market for them when they finish growing wool, thanks to our mates. It's a combination of factors because we're an industry that runs on confidence. And once big players like that go, we don't have the confidence in this commodity anymore, everyone goes, oh, well, I might as well just get out of it now too. And then that's like a domino effect. Mm-hmm. It'd be the same if they said, oh, yeah, we're going to shut down all our silos in Midwest New South Wales. Everyone would go, well, I'll stop growing grain then. Or it's a bit like if they said, oh, we're going to shut down the cotton gin. Everyone would be like, oh, well, I'll stop growing cotton then. And that's sort of the knock-on effects. And so that's more people out of work. And you're restricting your enterprise mix even further. So you're making yourself more exposed to risk and all those sorts of things. So, yeah, that's why the banning live sheep export was a really fucking dumb idea.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to hear more about that, we've done previous episodes on the banning because Gillian was actually the MC at the rally, which was held in Canberra. Gillian, do you just want to remind us a little bit about that?
That was a good day, actually. It was a beautiful day in Canberra. We had food trucks. We had a band. It was beautiful. The Liberal and Nats all came down, all stood on the stage, and I had to jump up and down with my microphone because they would just, these politicians, they love to be in front of a camera. And, it was a really nice day, but it was also a really positive day. Yeah, our mate Anthony, he stayed up there on the hill. No Labor politicians came down. I did see quite a lot of Labor staffers come down, though. So that was pretty interesting because they wanted to know what we were saying, but the politicians weren't game to come themselves, which I think is a bit rude because they're expecting a really aggressive, a really sort of outrageous response. And I think they feel like they deserve it, but we would never do that because we're more polite than that. We're angry. We're angry at a lot of stupid decisions that the politicians make, but we would never, ever seek to treat people with such disrespect because even if you don't respect the person, you still respect the position. So you still don't be abusive. You still don't be rude. Oh, you can be rude. I can be rude a little bit, but you're not violent. And there was one lady standing at the back with a ban live export sign, one lonely animal activist. And good power to her. In her mind, she's probably thinking, I'm going to get attacked or something. And she was still brave enough to go there and hold up her sign. But we just said good day to her and asked her to come up and stand on the stage. And then she went home and so whatever. It was a good day. There was plenty in the rally. We had lots of cars and trucks and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it was a good energy. I think we should have something like that every year on the lawns of Parliament House. Let me write that down. I'm going to take that to the NFF. Every year we should have on the lawns of Parliament House a farmers gathering, food trucks, band, and speakers, and just have it at the front of Parliament House in the park there. I did find out, though, you're not allowed to have your photo taken with Parliament House in the background in the forecourt with what they call protest materials. Because I was standing up there with some people from New South Wales Farmers and a couple of people from NFF, and we're just chatting, and the New South Wales Farmers had their Keep Farmers Farming signs just leaning up against their legs, and I tried to take a photo of us, and the AFP bloke come over and was like, you're not allowed to be taking photos of protest materials. I was like, mate, fucking calm down. But anyway, he's got a job to do, and he was very officious, very scary looking. Not that we weren't intimidated, but yeah, he did his job well that day. Stop us from taking pictures of each other.
My goodness. So remind us who did come down and have a chat to you, because I think that's part of the conversation going forward as well. If people are wanting to know, okay, who did come down and listen to the farmers on that day?
So we had Auntie Pauline Hanson. I call her Auntie Pauline because my brother is now a massive One Nations supporter, and he does a lot of campaign work for Pauline in North Queensland. So if you see some random bloke holding up handmade signs and stuff at a rally, that's probably my brother. He's a nice bloke. He's of a certain age. He's a bit older than me and lives a certain lifestyle that brings him into contact with a lot of other One Nation supporters. But all the Nats were there, all the Libs were there. Bob Katja came down. Bob was Bob's usual self, which was outrageous. But yeah, he's been around the traps for a long time, and he is very passionate about supporting farmers and farming communities and regional communities. He's been doing it his whole life. So if you do send, and this is the thing, I don't think we take enough time to directly write to politicians. Even if your seat is held by a Labor politician, you will probably get much more bang for your buck if you write to a Labor politician than if you write to someone from the Libs or the Nats. Because the problem with them is they think they already know. The Libs and the Nats think they already know what the problems are, and they'll tell us how to fix them. Labor has no idea. So if you can explain it to them in a way that makes it seem like they are going to look really good if they fix the problem, it'll make them really, really popular, and it will get them a lot of front page or TV time for supporting a particular issue. If you can pitch something like that to a politician who has no real knowledge or understanding of an industry, you've got a much better chance of getting a better result than if you try to tell someone who thinks they already know. But yeah, write to your politicians. Don't be rude, don't be aggressive, don't be obnoxious, but explain things to them in a way that you have to really have some empathy. You have to put yourself in their shoes and explain it to them like they're 5. And don't ever forget to tell them how it's affecting you and your family and your community, because that stuff's really powerful. Mm-hmm. And also it means more votes might be lost if they don't fix the problem. So
yeah
because that's what it comes back to. It comes back to votes, comes back to popularity and power. So you've got to demonstrate a way that fixing your problem will give them those things, and 9 times out of 10 you'll probably get what you want.
Absolutely, great advice, and a very round circle on that topic. So let's go into gaslighting women. You sent me a Jimmy Carr reel and you wanted to chat about it. So Gillian, explain the reel and why do you want to chat about it tonight?
So Jimmy Carr, if you don't know, he's a British comedian, and he's a bit outrageous because he literally does not give a shit what anyone thinks. But he also explains things in a way that once he explains it, you're like, oh, yeah, I really get that and I really understand. So in his reel, he's talking about women have been gaslit into because we were told when I was growing up, I don't know if you copped this end of it too, Katja, early 80s when I was a young person, a young girl, we're watching all these TV shows like Moonlight, Designing Women, all this sorts of stuff. What was it?
I don't know.
Murphy's Law. I know, because you're too young. Now, older listeners will understand. You were told that you could have a career like a high-powered, like executive career. You could be a lawyer or a doctor or a fashion designer or a musician or whatever, and a family, and raise a heap of kids, and everything would just be tickety-boo because you can do it all because you're amazing. And that is an absolute lie, because A, that's not true. We're discovering now just how untrue that is. We cannot have it all. We can, but we can't have it all at the same time. You can have a family, obviously, and you can have a career and be like on call 24/7 emergency heart surgeon if you feel the compulsion. But you can't do that when you've got a baby. So you can do both, just not at the same time. And we have to be okay with that, because we're killing ourselves trying to prove something that doesn't need to be proven. And also, women have changed. So we are seeking things outside the home and wanting to do, even just on farm, we do want to go outside and do more stuff. We don't just want to be chained to the kitchen sink, et cetera, et cetera. We do want to take a more active hands-on role in the running of the enterprise. But the structures that enable that to happen haven't kept pace. There's no in-home childcare. There's no childcare that's affordable, full stop, for anybody. We can't have it all right now. And there's no desire for the rest of society to invest in those structures that will make it happen. And so you're left again isolated and alone. So just take a deep breath, ladies. You can do it all, just not all at the same time. I'm looking at you, Katja, because you told me at the start of the year you're going to say no to more projects. And every time we jump on and have a chat, oh, well, I'm going to do this now and I'm going to do that now. I'm going to renovate a whole house now. It's like, calm down.
There's a difference between full-scale renovations. I'm not doing a full-scale renovation. I just want to make the house waterproof and mostly animal diet.
You say that now, but I know you'll start like, I'll just do a little bit of something, and next thing you know, the fucking wall is gone, there's new windows coming in, and you'll be ordering DIY floor coverings, and I'm correct, aren't I? Yes, and that is, I'm just so on the money. I just knew. I'm like, I'll just start cleaning these things. Oh, do you know what it needs? It needs a new coat of paint. But to do a new coat of paint, first we're going to have to sandblast it. And then we have to, the sandblast is broken down. So now I'm going to have to mechanic that first. And it'll just be like 3 days later, Katja's still got the sandblaster in pieces. And it's just, but yes, we can do it all. We just can't do it all at once. And we can't do it all by ourselves. Because like we're showing that on TV and all those women's magazines, honest to God, I know people in the publishing industry do a lot of drugs, and specifically, I know this from my friend of mine who used to be a publisher, they do a lot of cocaine. They must have been doing bucket loads of cocaine to write those articles and be like, yeah, ladies, you can get up at the morning at 5 o'clock and do your exercise regime and eat your bowl of Special K and put on your skinny jeans and go to work as a highfalutin account executive at some inner city firm, and then pick little Johnny up from football training and cook a 3-course meal and treat your husband real nice, then get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do it all over again. Impossible, unless you're doing bucket tons of cocaine. So don't do that.
Don't do that. That is not a recommendation, everybody. That is saying that is bad for your health. Please take a mental health break. Please look after yourself. Please reach out for help, and do not follow little rabbit trails like I do. Because I'm pretty sure when you were explaining that, I was like, I'm pretty sure there's a diagnosis in there.
And also, don't self-diagnose yourself by watching shit on the internet. Go and see a real doctor. But I say that because you can't go and see a real doctor. You can't get an appointment with a psychiatrist or a psychologist. That's what we're stuck with, Instagram reels and self-medicating at home with ill-advised supplements that you've purchased off the internet. So don't do that either.
Yes, actually go and see someone who is certified. Go and see your GP. If you're not getting anywhere with your GP, go and see a naturopath or a kinesiologist, something like that. Make sure you're getting proper help.
Yeah, and ask your friends for referrals, because I'll guarantee you that you'll notice there'll be someone in your friend group who was an absolute disaster, looked like shit, everything, and then all of a sudden she's got it together. Ask her what doctor she went to.
Yeah.
Because that is usually what's happened. They found a doctor who is supportive and listens and helps them on their journey, because it is a journey, any of this sort of stuff. But yes, Do not think that you can do it all at once. You cannot. It is a very bad idea to try and do that. Do not let society and crazy people on Instagram that obviously have no other job apart from making videos, and do not take advice. Don't even take advice from us. Go and find a certified professional, for Christ's sakes.
We're people on the internet.
Yes. Don't listen to people on the internet. It's a terrible idea.
Excellent. Now, let's roll into the topic which I have just told you. A fox attack has led to Victorian new bounty.
Get rid of all the foxes. I don't give a shit. And this is what irks me. There's people now in Australia, like the fox is an introduced species, and it has been proven to be a very bad idea for a variety of different reasons, and not just for agriculture. It decimates native animals. There's people now having fox sanctuaries and turning foxes into pets and all this sorts of nonsense. Crazy talk. And news services are the worst for it. I've seen in the past couple of months the news channel, the Adelaide News Channel, reposting a reel that someone put up of them playing with a fox in an urban Adelaide street. Don't play with it.
Oh.
Do not touch it. Like, one, it's going to savage you because it is a wild animal. Two, it's full of disease. And three, you do not want it accustomed to people. That's a terrible idea. And the next one was they're looking for South Australia's best pet. Oh, let's choose a deer, which is an also really destructive invasive species, especially in South Australia. They run havoc and run through people's fences and tear up the ground and wreck the trees. That's pretty irresponsible. Like,
why aren't they picking native animals? Why aren't they picking like something that's good for our ecosystem?
I don't know. Why don't they have like kookaburra? But this is the thing, because we've gone mad with the rules about native animals and stuff. You're not allowed to have a lot of native animals as pets unless you get them from the pet store. I could not tell you how many hundreds of dollars I have spent on buying lizards from the pet store for my children because they went through a real lizard phase when the very same creature exists in my garden. Like, I could have just snatched it up and put it in a tank. Job's right. But no, because we're responsible, I've spent hundreds of dollars on shop-bought lizards they just drop dead at the drop of a hat. You've given them the world. They've got their climate-controlled environment and the UV light and the other light and the live bugs that you have to feed the special stuff to, because you can't just give the vitamin mix straight to the lizard. You have to feed the insects on the vitamin mix, so when the lizard eats the insects, it gets the vitamin-loaded insect. I became an insect breeder to feed the goddamn lizards. I had crickets and mealworms up the yin-yang. So it is not easy. And I could have just snatched up a lizard from out on the flat, put it in the tank for a couple of days, and then let it go again and go, oh, no, Kidsy ran away. Oh, sad story. No, spent hundreds of dollars on it instead. Because we've got all these rules and regulations about snatching native animals up into the bush and keeping them as pets.
For those who've been around the podcast for a while, you know that Gillian is in a really remote part of South Australia on her million-acre station. You would have to go like to Adelaide to pick up a lizard and take it home, or does it get sent in the post? How does that work?
No. So the pet shops in South Australia often have lizards, and then I'm very skeptical about the breeding of these lizards because some of them have been very fragile. Yeah. But the most long-lived lizard we had, called Liz, had to make this special trip to this reptile-only shop in the back blocks of Adelaide, in Salisbury somewhere. If you know Adelaide, you'll know it was like, and honestly, it was a very uncomfortable experience. The lady wore a snake print hoodie, like jumper, and leggings, and I swear to Christ, it looked like she'd been swallowed by a giant boa constrictor because it was very tight. And like, dress how you want to dress or anything, but it was very disconcerting because she moved and it was like a giant snake like walking around the shop. And then I just wanted to get the cheapest lizard, buy the food and shit, and just get the hell out, because there's just snakes and lizards just everywhere, like in the boxes on the walls, and there's big giant things that aren't for sale, and why would you sell them anyway? And she's like, what sort of lizard do you want? I said, I just want a bearded dragon, And she's like, well, what color do you want? I'm like, do they even come in different colors? Like, I don't give a shit. They're brown looking things. She's like, oh no, we breed them in all different colors. And I'm just like, I just want the cheapest one. Just put it in a box. Let's go. But there's this whole other world of really passionate reptile people out there, and I can understand why you're not allowed to holus bolus just go out and just start gathering up native animals and taking them into your homes, because that is also a bad idea. But we've lost that connection, because some of our native animals could be super cool pets. Like I would love a pet quoll. A cat versus a quoll, like a quoll, provided you've got your chickens locked up nice and tight, a quoll would be awesome. You would have no trespassers, no possums or anything would come in your yard. The neighbourhood cats would not stand a chance. A quoll would just destroy them. No rats, you'd have no mice, and perfect. But instead we let people have reptiles. Look, let me have a mammal. Let me have a sugar glider.
So, AgFabs, go and find today's episode on the socials, on one of the tiles that Gillian's going to put up for us, and let us know what kind of Australian cool animal you would like as a pet, even though it might be highly illegal. But we are going to get back on topic, which is talking about the new fox bounty in Victoria based on the fact that there are fox attacks. So for those who are unsure about the diet of the fox, it's usually an omnivore diet, which is mainly meat, fruit, berries, vegetables, like very collective, but they do also eat insects and lizards, which is how we got on this little side quest.
But yeah, do you know foxes? Yeah, I don't think the bounty's high enough, because going fox shooting should be a full-time job for at least 100 people in every area. Because do you know what foxes, one of their favourite things to eat is lamb's tongues?
Yeah.
And that is all. Because if you're not familiar with sheep, which some of our listeners may not, and I'm not that familiar with sheep, I only know this because my dad had sheep recently. It's mama sheep, they have their babies, whatever. Mama sheep gets back to business. She goes to eat and drink, and babies just like lay up next to a tussock of grass or under a fallen tree, and they like hide there. And the fox comes along and doesn't even kill and eat the whole animal, just eats its tongue and then moves on to the next lamb. And it does not kill the lamb. So when you go to check your lambs in the morning, you've got 20 tongueless sheep that you then have to euthanize. I know they say that animals aren't evil and that sort of things, and the fox is just doing what it does. But that is outrageous behaviour, and we need many, many less foxes eating little lamb's tongues. So if you like lambs, if you like sheep, you should be 100% behind the fox bounty.
Yeah, absolutely. I think other states should bring it in as well, particularly with the fox numbers. There is a time and a place, and LLS for New South Wales is great. The local land service is great at doing a pronged approach to feral animal control. So whether that is your baiting systems, whether that's placing a bounty, whether it's increasing the amount that you can eradicate on your place or in the national parks or something like that, it definitely needs to be a pronged approach. But I think bounties should be brought back across all states that have a increasing fox population, particularly in hard times.
Let's bring back fox fur coats. I would love a fox fur coat. That would be awesome. I reckon that would be so cool. Let's bring back fox and rabbit fur as an everyday fibre to be worn by everyone. That would be so awesome. And again, you're right, Katja, it does need to be a multi-pronged attack, because you're not going to see every fox to shoot it. Not every fox is able to be shot. Not every fox will take a bait. Not every fox will go in a... Oh, do you guys use traps?
Yeah.
The rubber-jawed ones, the humane ones. Not every fox will go in a trap. So you need to use everything at your disposal. And when their hot numbers are really high, make the bounty really high to encourage people to shoot a lot of foxes. Because people who go shooting, they're usually out there doing something productive anyway. So they're usually a farmer, or a farmer pays them to sit in lambing paddocks and that sort of stuff. And while they're out there, they'll shoot foxes, they'll shoot cats, they'll shoot dogs, they'll shoot pigs. And so they're really impactful in small areas in a short amount of time. But you can't let the other methods go either. You have to use them all at once.
Yeah. And I think there's something really important that we need to mention here, and that is that if you are going to use firearms, you are licensed, you've done your training, that kind of thing. We're not talking about just anyone going out. We're talking about people who are law-abiding citizens, who have their license, who know what they're up to, know what they're doing. This is not a cruel act against the foxes. If you're using any of those pronged attacks that we're talking about, they are legal and they are there for a reason. And it is beneficial not only to agriculture but for the cities so that they don't get attacks, because most of the time when this happens, it's not necessarily in a rural setting. It is in your cities and your towns.
And if you have a cat and you don't keep your cat inside and foxes move into your area, you won't have a cat for very long, I'll guarantee you that. Because foxes and cats do not get on, especially domestic cats, because they're a bit dumb. They'll struggle to get a feral cat, but a house cat, the fox will be like, game on. If you are interested in learning more about how professional shooters operate, there's a really good bloke on YouTube called Hunt the Night. He's an Australian bloke. He does a lot of commercial shooting. So farmers pay him to go places and to do things. The most amazing thing he does is shoot rats in chicken coops at night with a 22 air pistol or air rifle. So you can't hear it. So it just goes, and night vision. Yeah. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. I've never seen so many goddamn rats in my life. And if you've ever had anything to do with large numbers of rats, they will eat your chickens while they're still alive.
Yes.
Don't worry just about them eating the eggs. They will eat your actual chicken while she is still alive. He goes to a lot of free range and shed chicken systems and spends all night shooting rats with a 22 air rifle. And it's just thousands of rats. Incredible. But he does pigs and foxes as well, and cats if he sees them. So, yeah. And it's very professional, very, very good at what he does.
Yeah, absolutely. No suffering whatsoever when it is done that way. And that leaves us to the end of the episode. So if you have enjoyed listening, or you know that someone else will also enjoy this episode, please send it to them and leave a review. We haven't asked for a review in quite some time, so make sure we are doing that.
Yeah. We do need that. We need more reviews on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Tell everybody why they should listen and give us 5 stars, please.
Please and thank you. We'll see you on another episode. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Absolutely Fabulous. If you've been listening along and enjoying all this content, which I assume you have, you've gotten this far, then you might also like Katja's other podcast. It's the Ultimate Farm Wife Podcast. And I'm going to play the intro for you right now. Welcome to the Ultimate Farm Wife Podcast. On this channel, we're going to be discussing all things moving to the land and becoming integrated with a family farming operation. Whether you're moving to the farm for the first time or whether you're moving back into a family farming operation, we discuss the ins and the outs of all of it. So let's jump into today's episode.